firstly, thanks to everyone for coming along to the panel today. Just to introduce myself, my name's Andrew Kirke. I'm a partner in the contracts and technology team at Tughans. Tughans is a commercial law firm based in town. We've about 120 staff. Actually, I think been going 125 years now, so we work with a lot of companies in the tech and manufacturing space. And we've been a long-term supporter of Digital DNA, I think, for probably as long as the event's been going on. So it's good to be back to in-person events again and to have an opportunity to support the guys this year. Manufacturing NI, we've also been in partnership with for quite some time now. So we did a survey in conjunction with Manufacturing NI this year on thoughts and opinions in the manufacturing community in Northern Ireland. What are the sort of problem points? What are businesses experiencing? So the idea, I think, behind today's panel was just to sort of bring those two worlds together. Manufacturing is increasingly digital. I suppose now there's, for really the past 4 or 5 years, there has been that increasing trend towards digital innovation in manufacturing and bespoke product production. It's not just a case of producing thousands of identical products now. It's actually becoming possible to produce bespoke products for bespoke customers rather than just printed off a manufacturing assembly line. The technology is there now to innovate, and manufacturing companies in Northern Ireland, need to be at the forefront of that development. It was interesting, one of the results of the survey that was published, I think 25% of manufacturing companies here said that they felt they could benefit from further training and further upskilling in the sort of software and innovation side of things, and some had also expressed difficulties in terms of recruiting people in the tech space to get involved in manufacturing. So I guess our panelists today is Cormac from Bloc Blinds. So allow him to sort of introduce himself and give a bit of overview on what he's doing. And they also have I suppose, at the other end of the spectrum, in terms of an earlier stage startup, we've got Brendan from Machine Eye. And then hosting the sort of panel in the Q&A today will be Stephen Kelly. He's the CEO of Manufacturing NI. So I'll pass over to Stephen to sort of kick us off.
Thanks, Andrew, and it's great to be here at Digital DNA today. One of the kind of extraordinary numbers, I suppose, that we've heard is that certainly in Ireland, they know that 89% of the new jobs in digital actually rely upon older traditional sectors such as manufacturing, banking, retailing, etc., etc., etc. So the digital world still relies in many respects on the physical world in terms of its future development. And two businesses with us today who are testament to that in terms of their own development. Maybe start with Cormac. Give us a bit of an overview about Bloc as a brand and as a business, but also that kind of digital journey and where you've got to with that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cormac Diamond. I'm the Managing Director of Bloc. We are an Indigenous firm based in Magherafelt. We employ just under 300 people. We are in business about 12 years. We started from basically nothing. I'm a mechanical engineer. I used to make digger buckets and be involved in heavy engineering. And then in 2008, no one wanted to buy any of that, so had to change very fast. So blinds was a natural transition out of digger buckets, and we embarked on a journey of understanding, I suppose, as you say, that traditional route of manufacturing, but we realized it was quite a static and stagnant sector. So we introduced very fast lead times, more automated, and we're on a journey with automation, but really answering what the new digital consumer wanted, was fast lead times and variation in products rather than being one size fits all. So we've also now diversified into medical device manufacturing as well, and we operate across Europe. In the Netherlands we have a plant, and soon in North America as well. So it's been a transitional journey for us from that traditional route and embracing the digital consumer. And I suppose that's been what's kept us through these difficult times over the last 12, 24 months as well, has been able to react. We had a real boom in home improvements. And again, we saw the strength of manufacturing on these shores where a lot of supply chains were disrupted and under a lot of pressure. We were able to produce product because it was produced here. And that's, we see as been with the right ingredients and the right skills and skill sets, a real sustainable business going forward.
And before I go over to Brendan, in terms of those 300 odd people that you have working for you, what's the kind of division of labour there? How many of those actually physically make things? And how many of those are there, particularly on the technology side, whether that's on the retailing, the e-tailing, or whether that's on the automation piece?
Yeah,
how's that divided up?
Yeah, we do about 50-50. I'd say there's 50% in non-value added, if I could call it that, and then 50% in direct production. So talk about non-value added in a lean mentality is that they're not adding value directly in the product, so they're not in the manufacturing process. So 50% of the staff are in the R&D, in marketing, in the support services, and now mechatronics as well, and robotic design. As part of our journey, we would only really develop products that we can patent. So we're not into products that we see as Me Too products. We try and develop products that has its own sustainability, because it enables you not only to earn money from the actual production yourself, you're also then able to license out the IP on a global basis in order to tap into markets that you can't supply blinds to in South America or North America or even into in southern Europe. But you realise that value through the IP, and that's all delivered by people within the business. That it is indigenous. It's a team effort in understanding the customer and ultimately where we can capitalise on in markets.
Thanks for that. We may explore some of that in a second. Brendan, in terms of your own journey, did you make digger buckets before you've gone into Machine Eye, or can you give us a quick definition about how you've ended up here and what the business is?
So I definitely can't say we were making digger buckets, but there is a connection back to the two diggers. Machine Eye, we're really probably at the opposite end of the scale to Cormac, where he has over 300 odd staff. We're currently a staff of 5, so we're an early stage technology startup here in Belfast. And what we're doing is building assistive technologies for the primary industries, so manufacturing and production. We're making primarily the machines safer, more intelligent, and working towards making those machines autonomous. My background is in agriculture and my background is in construction. I'm a very typical Northern Irish child who's grown up in the countryside, has grown up around these machines. But I've also grown up at the stage where we're technologists, where we've been exploring what we can do with new systems. So I suppose with Machine Eye, we're merging that together and we're trying to build smarter, more intelligent industry. At the moment in the news, we're seeing an awful lot about workforce shortages and the impact that that's having, and that is something that ripples across the sector, right from agriculture to manufacturing to logistics. So the direction that we're heading with Machine Eye will be autonomous machines. It's the direction that the sector is heading. It's a sector that's prime for autonomy. So I suppose we can say with a smirk, we would like to think we're the Tesla of Northern Ireland, that we can take these industrial machines and we can retrofit them to autonomous capability to assist businesses with workforce management. At the minute, what we do is workforce safety. Manufacturing and the primary industries are very dangerous. There's huge fatality rates, there's huge injury rates, and that has a financial implication upon business owners and business viability. So what we do with Machine Eye is we use AI, we use computer vision to identify high-risk events and to mitigate and manage that. So we are a risk management platform for our core production and manufacturing sectors. That risk management, there is big financial implications for that, and that's something that we're working to realise at the moment. So we're on a journey. At the moment, it's about making industry safer, but in the short to medium term, it'll be about making industry smarter and more self-capable.
And can I ask then, Brendan, the motivation for starting the business? Was that because you saw what was happening and you wanted to run with a solution? Or was it that you saw an opportunity and you wanted to grasp what that opportunity was?
I think it was an element of both. It's impossible to be in this industry and not see the human impact that accidents cause. They're far too common, they're far too prolific. We'll all have heard ads on the radio, we'll all have seen news bulletins. It's something, particularly here in Northern Ireland, that gets a lot of coverage. The flip side of that is, haven't been exposed to the technology at Queen's, haven't had an opportunity to work with it in the past, seeing the opportunity to take modern technology, to take that back into what has been a very traditional sector is a huge opportunity. We have a long track record in Northern Ireland of manufacturing, of agriculture and of innovation. Some of the biggest innovations since the dawn of mechanised agriculture have come from Northern Ireland. So it's something that we do very well here. It's something, therefore, that we have a huge footprint, a huge manufacturing footprint. Look at the Mid-Ulster engineering cluster. The amount of material handling equipment that's made down there is world-beating. So we have that capability here. So seeing the opportunity to build a technology for that sector, for that industry here locally, and potentially build it alongside that existing ecosystem, the opportunity is huge. You couldn't do it anywhere else in the world the way you can here.
And before I come back to Cormac, maybe just another question for yourself. Culturally, particularly the agricultural community and perhaps construction as well, have kind of gone, well, listen, we'll not worry about that, just get on with it, just get the job done. And that has caused difficulties for many families. Since you've introduced this product and since you've introduced this business, do you feel that the culture is beginning to change and shift, or is there still blockages there that need to be overcome?
So I suppose there's a saying that I always use, which is safety doesn't sell. People won't, by and large, of their own accord, invest in a new means of safety if it's not mandated or if it's not required or if there's not a pressing need for it. However, that isn't a full reflection of the mood of the industry. We know that business owners are saying to us, we know we're not safe, we know we need to do something better, we know we need to improve our processes. So the job that we have at Machine Eye is, yes, to create a safe environment for their staff, but to create an environment and to create a mechanism where it's viable for that business to adopt us so that we don't have to sell safety, that we're selling a platform, that we're selling a tool for that business to optimize how they do things. So there has to be a financial side to it. There has to be a reason for that business owner to make that investment. So yes, we're a safety tool, but we're a risk management technology, and risk management is something that has huge business implications, and it's something that we try to do. So the appetite is there within business owners to do something, but the right environment has to exist, that it's worth their while, that they're rewarded, that they're not seeing, that they're seeing the financial benefit of what they do, aside from the responsibility of a duty of care to their staff.
And Cormac, in your own business, I've had the great pleasure of going and seeing it for myself and some of your team. It appears that the culture of building this digital and technological approach is ingrained in every single person in that business. Do you want to explain to the audience about what you've done as a leader within that business to kind of bring that about?
Well, the first thing to say is I've done lots of shitty and wrong things in this development too. And I think that's where digital really does help, because a lot of it, back when we started out, was this will definitely work. This one's definitely going to work. And you go down a route of developing a product and spend money in tooling and stocks and supplies. And it didn't really maybe translate into the sales that we would have thought it would have. But the digital piece now is really empowering us, and of late we've just added in the Bloc Labs as well, and that's to really turbocharge, I suppose, that direct-to-consumer knowledge base, and understand exactly what customers want. Because if you're always going by what is trends, you're always behind. You're following someone else's pathway. And what we've found in this new journey, this new approach, is really to understand those unanswered questions and then and translate that into a product with the same lens of it's got to be patentable, it's got to be protected, it's got to be innovative, it's got to be manufactured in an autonomous way, and it's got to be able to be exported. And once we were starting to tick all those and controlling those processes of design, then we're far more certain of success. But that's been a journey, and it's been dotted by epic failures, which is all part of the fun as well, as long as it doesn't kill you.
That's where Machine Eye come in. Pardon me. And in terms of the people who work in Bloc, what's your ideal employee? So what does that person look like? Not physically look like, but in terms of their attitude and values and What are you out there looking for in the marketplace that would add to your business?
Well, I don't know. There's many types of people in charge of organisations, but I'm very much hands off, and where we give a lot of autonomy to people to make their own decisions, rightly or wrongly, in the journey of a product, and where we do want people to take risks. We calculate risks to be able to try and map out the best route forward, and that has left us with decisions can be made quicker. And I suppose over the last 18 months that really came to the fore because we were presented with a pandemic. On a particular day we were told the non-essential businesses had to close. And within 5 days, we had repurposed into making medical device PPE for the NHS. But it was all done by people in individual cells within the business. So they weren't looking to me, to say, this is, what do we do here? It was, yeah, that's the green light, go and do it. And then those decisions were made at every level. And that I suppose, summed up what we've been trying to develop over the previous 10 years was a business that was scalable and not bottlenecked by the traditional hierarchy of, I have to wait and ask such and such, or wait, do we get clearance from that person? It was far more dynamic. And again, it gave us a renewed framework as how we were going to conduct ourselves as a business going forward, to say, well, let people be even more autonomous and make decisions that, it's not going to be that terribly risky for the business, but it makes decisions much faster. It makes, incremental change much quicker. And ultimately, it's a much nicer environment for people to work in because they're not waiting on, some guru or perceived guru above them, which I'm not, by the way, to make decisions, because that's not normal life. Let them at it.
And I know, having been at the launch of the new factory for the Bloc Shield business, that within 5 days you were making face shields because there was an emergency situation from our frontline workers. And you took a very traditional approach just to get started on that, taking over a big leisure centre and just putting people with sets of hands to get that. But throughout that whole process, you were looking at how do we make this automated? How do we make this more streamlined? How do we make this more efficient? And I think it was within 7 weeks a brand new factory was born. And I remember being there was robots around the place, etc., etc., etc. I mean, was that because it culturally ingrained within everybody in the business about how do we make this quicker, faster, stronger, cheaper, more productive? Or was that, listen, we need to get to zero price as quickly, or as close to zero price as quickly as possible? What was that process?
Well, there was twofold. We had the luxury of getting the local leisure centre, which is 100,000 square feet from the local council. But within 7 weeks, they said people want to be back playing football, so get out. I know there's a pandemic, but they had to serve their own community, and also it was to give people the some reflection of normality returning whenever the leisure centre were trying to reopen again. But yes, from a commercial point of view, we knew this was there's a finite time that we were going to be operational in that facility. So, it was 100,000 square feet. There just are and still are no premises like that within the Mid-Ulster or Magherafelt area. So we had to condense it into a 16,000 square foot factory with similar output to what was being done there. But it also, again, it was the second phase, so there was that immediacy saying, just all hands to the pump, let's make this work. And then, back into, let's now transition this into a more sustainable model that we can, have certifications and have a longevity for the staff that are involved in it. So, yeah, again, all carried out by people within the business. And that was, again, the beauty of being able to, over the previous years, create that environment where people knew that there was risk averse for them to take their own decisions and make it quickly, and resulting in a brand new factory with 40 jobs, created and a sustainable model for it to keep going.
And Brendan, the pre-pandemic, at least, there was a huge amount of resistance to change in the world of work, a huge amount of resistance to going online, huge amount of resistance to doing even teleconferences rather than actually meeting in person, for instance. But the pandemic changed a lot of that. I mean, have you begun to see that change within industry, not the technology industry, but the traditional industries, where resistance has been futile and people are beginning to kind of bring down those barriers?
Yeah, so we're seeing what were previously very traditional industries are incredibly keen to look at new options. I think they've realised that they were able to move online, they were able to move to Zoom, and the business didn't stop, it didn't fall apart, and that has opened their eyes to the potential of technology. It's opened their eyes to what they can do, and it has also opened their eyes to where they have to work. So, customers that we deal with, we're seeing people contact us from geographic areas that they never would have reached out to a startup in Belfast with. Because they're now seeing that with Zoom, with the technology that's there, it's possible for them to talk to us in Belfast and for us to send something locally to them. And that's a huge opportunity for us. We're also seeing it within our own team that we're able to take advantage of everybody being used to remote work and of everybody being capable of that to look further than the local area. So we have, we have gone after expertise as opposed to location. So we have people working out of Galway, with people working out of Southampton. We're getting ready to hire again. They may be local roles, they may be remote roles. We can facilitate either. And that's something that for us has been hugely beneficial, particularly in what we do where we need specialist people. We can target those specialist people where they are, where they're comfortable. So the industries that we're dealing with, they are traditional industries, but what we're seeing is they're very, very, very quickly adapting. They want to look at new processes. They want to look at new technologies. They want to look at how can they innovate fast. Quite similar to what Cormac's describing. Businesses are all, regardless of how many staff they have, are starting to function like startups. Work quick, individual responsibility, and take advantage of the benefits that brings.
And Andrew, in terms of the client base at Tughans, obviously we work very closely with you from the manufacturing sector. But the clients that you're representing, what's their experience? Are they finding that this is something that people are resisting to? Are they finding difficulties in entry? Or what role does a Tughans have in supporting this kind of development and move forward?
You mean in terms of adoption of new technologies? And so I suppose there's two questions there in terms of like what we're seeing clients do when it comes to adoption and resistance to that. I think, as Brendan was saying, the pandemic has forced people down that route. People had to innovate or get left behind. There was no option other than to move businesses online, and we've seen. From clients through to Bloc, and obviously what the guys have done there to, we've done some work with Randox and how they've, drastically scaled up their facilities to cope with, requirements for PCR testing and that type of thing. Clients have been very good at adapting and moving quickly to meet new demand, and I suppose even right through to the tech side of things, clients who have maybe accelerated software products that they were looking at anyway, and have brought those out to address new opportunities in the market that have grown up as a result of the pandemic. So, it's been very impressive to see. I guess in terms of what we've been doing to support them, we're a full service law firm, so we're doing everything right the way through from financing, M&A, and actually this year past has been probably one of our busiest years yet on that front, which is great to see. In terms of the money that's being put into the local ecosystem. But what I do is more on the commercial contracts and technology side of things. So helping, it could be businesses like Bloc looking to engage consultants in the IT space through to, Brendan's requirements in terms of bringing employees into the business and that type of thing.
And do you think that there's a sea change now? The resistance has broken down, and that there's more inquiry in terms of how do we remain competitive and get at this game rather than the fear in the past was that you're bringing in machines, for instance, to replace people. Are you noticing a big change there culturally?
I think people have had to do that. I think at the minute, and we were talking about this before, one of the problems that a lot of manufacturing companies and companies generally are struggling with is getting people. So if you're in that traditional mode, where you're not automating, you can't get the staff to do that. So you have to automate as much as you can to reduce staff headcount, and there's still plenty of jobs to go round at the end of that. And you have seen, I suppose, like in terms of challenges that clients are seeing. I think on the tech side, that's something that clients have seen quite acutely as well. I've heard, anecdotally, it can be more expensive to get a software developer now in Belfast than if you're based in London, and that is a problem that some clients are having to wrestle with. But that doesn't mean that they don't have to do that. They're just going to have to move with that and get on with it.
And a couple of minutes left here. Cormac, the future for Bloc, is Bloc a technology firm or is Bloc a manufacturing firm?
Well, we're fast moving into the technology centre, so certainly we see that as being an enabler. We're an island economy, so there's only so much you can take on, process, and send back out again. So we see the blinds as a vehicle of entry, if you call that, into the home, and basically the window cavity is it's untapped real estate, we would have called it, where you can load it with sensors and have it as an interface between the outside world and the inside world. And there's a lot of data there that we can capture, and basically having that through a non-intrusive product. But that's where we're moving as a business, and it's exciting because it's bringing in it's that nice mix between the technology development and traditional manufacturing, if you call it that. And again, it shows that you can do these things here. Like, Northern Ireland doesn't have to be broadly service-based. With the right ingredients and the right product and the right markets, you can create product here from first principles and be successful in it on a global scale.
And Brennan, if you had one message for any manufacturer out there about embracing what you can see ahead, what would that message be?
It has to be a simple message of embrace it. It's coming and it's going to have a huge effect on business, and that's where we're positioning ourselves with Machine. We're there to assist manufacturers, we're there to assist businesses, we're there to be the technology that enables people like Bloc, existing traditional manufacturers, to enter into future, to enter into a more automated, a more intelligent future, to get those efficiencies. It doesn't mean workforce reductions. I know Andrew said about automation and things like that, but I would argue people have to build the machines, install them, maintain them. Those jobs are still there. They're becoming technology jobs. So with Machine, we're really moving forward, and we're positioning ourselves as the supporting platform for a lot of manufacturers to adopt technology across their business, to adopt intelligence, and to do it in a way that isn't scary. It isn't a huge hurdle. It's something manageable, it's something capable, and it's something with an awful lot of benefit for their business.
I think our time is just about up. I really appreciate your insights and your transparency and honesty around all that stuff. Continued success to both your businesses, and of course, if you ever need a good law firm, Andrew's only at the end of the telephone as well. So thanks very much.